Welcome back, and today we are going to do Act 1, Scene 2 of Julius Caesar, Class 9 and 10. In Act 1, Scene 1, we ended it with the tribunes going around the whole city and removing the decorations from Caesar's statue. And we learned that in general, the governors of Rome, some of them are really opposed to the idea of Caesar turning into the king, a dictator, and they try their level best to end the rule of Caesar. So let's see what happens after that. Act 1, Scene 2, Rome, a public place. So in this scene, there is a general celebration for a festival that was used to be celebrated in Rome. So enter in procession Caesar Antony, who is ready to run in the race, which is the part of the celebration in the festival. Calpurnia, Caesar's wife, Portia, Brutus's wife, Decius, another character, Cicero, another character, Brutus, Cassius, and Casca, followed by a crowd of citizens and a soothsayer. A soothsayer is someone who can predict the future, who sees the future and tells the people about it in exchange for some money. So, Caesar, he calls out to his wife Calpurnia. Casca, he is a two-faced man, you can say that, because we learn what he does at the end. So here he says, "Peace ho, Caesar speaks." So he tells the crowd following them that everyone, peace, Caesar is speaking. Caesar again calls out Calpurnia, hear my lord. Caesar, stand you directly in Antonius's way when he doth run his course. So there was actually this ancient custom in Rome that the people running in this race, when they touch a barren lady, someone who can't have children, who can't bear children, they become fertile. So Calpurnia was barren, and Antony was running in the race. So Caesar tells Calpurnia, you stand directly in Antonius's way when he runs his race. Then he calls out Antony, Caesar, my lord. Caesar, forget not in your speed, Antonius, to touch Calpurnia, for our elders say, the barren, touched in this holy chase, shake off their sterile curse. So Caesar tells Antony that in your speed, in your race, do not forget to touch Calpurnia, for it is said by our elders that the barren, that is the ones who cannot have children, when touched during this race, shake off their sterile curse, so they can then bear children. Antony, I shall remember. When Caesar says, do this, it is performed. So you can understand how devoted Antony is to Caesar, and also you can understand how much he holds the power. So Antony says, I shall of course remember it, and when Caesar says something needs to be done, it is done immediately. Caesar, set on and leave no ceremony out. So Caesar says, go on, leave no ceremony for the festival out, celebrate the festival to its full. Soothsayer, Caesar, ha, who calls? Casca, bid every noise still, peace yet again. So among the crowd there was a soothsayer. He calls out to Caesar, Caesar, listen to me. Caesar says, yes, who calls? Casca, bid every noise be still, peace yet again. Casca once again says every other man to be quiet, and Caesar is again speaking. Caesar, who is it in the press that calls on me? I hear a tongue shriller than all the music, cries Caesar. Speak. Caesar is turned to hear. So Caesar then says, who I heard someone calling upon me with a tongue that is shriller than all the music that is being played. So speak. Caesar is turned to hear that I am ready to hear you. Speak. What do you want to tell to me? Soothsayer, beware the Ides of March. Ides of March is the 15th of March. Caesar, what man is that? Brutus, a soothsayer bids you beware the Ides of March. So Brutus replies that it's a soothsayer. He is telling you to beware the Ides of March, the 15th of March. Caesar, set him before me, let me see his face. Caesar said, bring the man before me, I want to see him. Cassius, fellow, come from the throng, look upon Caesar. So Cassius calls the fellow forward, that come in front of Caesar. Caesar wants to look at you. Caesar, what sayest thou to me now? Speak once again. Caesar asks him to speak again. Soothsayer, beware the Ides of March. So the soothsayer does not. Soothsayers used to speak in very prophetic, very confusing terms, so he does not elaborate on what he was saying. Instead, he keeps on saying, "Beware the Ides of March." So Caesar says, "He is a dreamer, he is a madman. Let us leave him pass." So trumpets sound, exeunt all except Brutus and Cassius. So the first chapter that includes the mention of the conspiracy begins from here. Cassius, "Will you go see the order of the course?" "Not I." So Cassius asks Brutus, "Will you go see the race?" Brutus says, "Not I." Cassius, "I pray you, do." Cassius says, I want you to go." Brutus, "I am not gamesome. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony. Let me not hinder, Cassius, your desires. I'll leave you." So Brutus compares himself to Antony and says, "I do not have the quick spirit. I do not like games as much as Antony does. So I do not have the quick spirit. I do not have the energy that is in Antony. Let me not bother you anymore, Cassius. I will leave you." So Cassius now begins to emotionally blackmail Brutus as so. "Brutus, I do observe you now of late. I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I want to have. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you." So Cassius said, "Brutus, for quite a few days now I do not observe from you the gentleness from your eyes that I used to have. You are not showing me the same amount of love that you used to. You have attained a strange behavior towards me over your friend that loves you." Brutus, "Cassius, be not deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself." So Brutus says, "Do not worry, be not deceived. I still love you. I have just veiled my look. I am not being able to express my look. I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself." Meaning, I am troubled with some thoughts that trouble me upon myself. "Vexed I am of late with passions of some difference, conceptions only proper to myself." So he says, "I am rather worried with some passions of little difference to others, conceptions only proper to myself, that is, personal issues, which give some soil perhaps to my behaviors, which is giving rise to my strange behavior to you." Give soil meaning giving the effect of growth, which is giving growth to my strange behavior towards you. "But let not therefore my good friends be grieved, among which number, Cassius, you are one." So Brutus says that, "Let not my friends, let not the ones who are close to me, be deceived by the looks I bear right now. And Cassius, you fall among my friends, so do not think I am ignoring you, nor construe any further my neglect than that poor Brutus, with himself at war, forgets the show of love to others." So he says that do not think that I am neglecting you. I am troubled with my personal problems, and I may have just forgotten to show my love for you. So Cassius says, "Then, Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face?" So Cassius says, "I am sorry I mistook your passion, that is your feelings. I misunderstood you. By means whereof this heart of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations." So Cassius says that because you have been so occupied for the past few days, I have also kept buried some of my thoughts that I wanted to share with you. So he asks a very rhetoric question to Brutus. "Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? Can you see your face with your own eyes?" Brutus, "No, Cassius, for the eyes sees not itself, but by reflection, by some other things." So Brutus's this line is very famous. He says, "No, one cannot see himself by his own eyes, but only by reflection of someone else." So this is a very deep line. It says one cannot see one's true self. It is only through the behavior and through the emotions that others express in our company that we judge ourselves, that we see ourselves. Cassius, "'Tis just. You're right. You're correct. And it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow." So Cassius says, "It is very sad that you have no mirrors that will help you see your true worth. I have heard were many of the best respect in Rome except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, and wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. So the manipulation begins. He says, I have heard rumors where many of the best respected men in Rome, they talk about Brutus, except immortal Caesar, who talks about no one else but himself. Speaking of Brutus and groaning underneath this age's yoke. So this age's yoke, he refers to Caesar, the groaning underneath the rule of Caesar, and many men have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes, through which he could see the sufferings of Rome. So Brutus understands what Cassius is instigating. He says, into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius, that you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me? So Brutus is kind of underestimating himself. He says, what dangers are you leading me into, Cassius? I am not what you believe me to be, and I highly doubt the people of Rome think me to be so great. Why are you talking against Caesar? What dangers are you leading me to, Cassius? Therefore, good Brutus, be prepared to hear, and since you know you cannot see yourself so well as by reflection, I, your glass, will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you yet not know of. So Cassius says, therefore, good Brutus, be prepared to hear. Let me tell you something. And since you know you cannot see yourself, so since you already know that one cannot see himself, so as well by reflection I, your glass, will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you knew not of. So he says, let me be your mirror. Let me be your mirror, and you can look upon yourself from my eyes and see the qualities that you do not even know that you have. And be not jealous on me, gentle Brutus, were I a common laughter, or did use to stale with ordinary oaths my love to every new protester. He says, be not doubtful of my intentions towards you, Brutus. Were I a common laughter, so were I a common man, and did bear common oaths with every new person, if you know that I do fawn on men and hug them hard after scandal them, if you know that I possess myself in banqueting to all the rout, then hold me dangerous. So Cassius says that I am not someone who meddles with common people, who meddle with commoners, who takes random oaths. I am not someone like that. I do not have scandals, and I do not engage myself in worthless tasks. If I would do all those, then you could doubt me. But now, do not hold me dangerous. So, there's a flourish of trumpets and a great shouting off stage. Brutus says, what means this shouting? I do fear the people chose Caesar for their king. This is the opening that Cassius needs to say his words. Aye, do you fear it? Then I must think you would not have it so. Then, oh, if you fear it, if you fear Caesar being chosen as the king, you would not have it so, will you? Brutus, I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. So Brutus says, I do not want Caesar to be the king, yet I love Caesar well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? What is it that you would impart to me? If it be aught towards the general good, set honor in one eye and death in the other, and I will look both indifferently. For let the gods so speed me, as I love the name of honor more than I fear death. Very important. So Brutus says, why are you holding me here for so long? What is that you need from me? So if it ought towards the general good, if it is for the general good of Rome, I will set honor in one eye and death to the other, and I will look upon both of them equally. For the gods know that I fear death much less than I love the name of honor. So he loves honor more than he fears death. Cassius. I know that virtue to be in you, Brutus, as well as I do know your outward favor. Well, honor is the subject of my story. So Cassius says, I know what good qualities you have, and I know that you care about your people. I do know your outward favor. Well, honor is the subject of my story. I want to speak with you about honor itself. I cannot tell you what and other men think of this life, but for my single self, I had as lief not be, as lief to be, in awe of such a thing as myself. So he says, I do not know what you or other common people think about this life, but I, for one, cannot live in this life as I ought to be living. I was born free as Caesar, so were you. We have both fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold as well as he. He says, we were both born same, we were both born similar, we have fed similar foods, and we have been born as free as Caesar has been. We have both endured the winter's cold as well as he. For once upon a raw and a gusty day, the troubled Tiber chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, Darst thou, Cassius, now leap in with me into this angry flood, and swim to yonder point. So, Cassius tells the story to Brutus to show how similar he and Brutus and Caesar they all are. He says, one stormy day, Caesar had told him, Dare you, Cassius, to leap into this angry flood with me and swim to that point? Upon the word, outrurred as I was, I plunged in and bade him to follow. So indeed he did. So Cassius says that upon his words, I jumped in, and he did too, and the torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside, and stemming it with hearts of controversy. But ere we could arrive at the point proposed, Caesar cried, Help me, Cassius, or I sink. So Cassius says that we both swam with lusty sinews. With lusty sinews, it means with very strong gusts of strength. We moved the water aside and we were swimming. And before we could arrive to the point proposed by Caesar, he cried out, Help me, Cassius, or I will drown. I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulder, the old Ancesius bear. So from the waves of Tiber, so I the tired Caesar. So Aeneas was the founder of Rome. So there was this flood once, and he had carried his father, his old father, who could not swim, upon his shoulders. From the flames of Troy they had both escaped, and eventually Aeneas leads on to be the founder of Rome. And he says that just like Aeneas had carried his aging father on his shoulders to save him, I, like Aeneas, carried the tired Caesar. And this man is now become a god, and Cassius is a wretched creature, and must bend his body if Caesar but carelessly to nod on him. So now he expresses his jealousy. He says that I had saved Caesar once upon a time, and now I am the dog who must bend before him. If Caesar carelessly but nod on him, he had a fever when he was in Spain, and when the fit was on him, I did mark how he did shake. 'Tis true this god did shake, his coward lips did from those colour fly, and that same eye, whose bent doth awake the world, did lose his lustre. I did hear him groan, aye, and that tongue of his, that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. Alas, it cried, Give me some drink, Titinius, as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me, as a man of such feeble temper would so set the world, start of a majestic world, and bear the palm alone. So, he says another story to refer to the insignificant nature of Caesar's health. He says that in Spain once upon a time, Caesar had a fever and he was shaking, and his lips lost his color. He was shaking. The god did shake. The one who is being considered as a god right now, he did shake. His lips lost their color. And the same eye, who doth bend all the world, did lose the lustre. His eyes lost the shine. I did hear him groan, aye, and the tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. The same tongue that commanders Romans, that orders Romans to do his tasks. Those same tongue who orders Romans to write his speeches down in the books. It cried, Give me some drink, give me some water, Titinius. Titinius is Caesar's friend. Ye gods, it doth amaze me, a man of such feeble temper would set the start of the majestic world and bear the palm alone. So he says, I wonder how a man of such weak nature, of such feeble temper, is being able to set the world upon his palm, is able to control the world. So another flourish of trumpets and a second shout. Brutus says, another general shout. I do believe that these applauses are for some new honors that are being heaped on Caesar. So Brutus says that I do fear that these honors are in honor of Caesar again. Cassius, why man he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. So he says that Caesar is like a colossus. A colossus is a huge statue. It was a statue of Apollo which was more than 100 feet high and was destroyed by an earthquake. So it was a very huge statue beneath which all ships and trades used to pass. So Cassius says that like a colossus, Caesar stands upon the world and we pass between his legs. We walk under his huge legs and peep about to still find ourselves in dishonorable positions in comparison to him. Men at some time are masters of their fate. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. A very famous line and a very, very beautiful line. So he says, men sometimes are masters of their fate. He says, men themselves are masters of their fate, and the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, is not in the time of our birth, is not in our zodiac signs, but in ourselves. The fault is in ourselves that we are under Caesar, that we do not think ourselves to be as important as Caesar. Brutus and Caesar, what should be in that? Caesar, why should that name be sounded more than yours? So he said, what is the difference between the name of Caesar and Brutus? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? Write them together. Yours is as fair a name. Sound them. It doth become the mouth as well. Weigh them. It is as heavy. Conjure with them. Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. So you both are equal. You both sound the same. They weigh the same. And your name, Brutus, will sound a spirit as well as Caesar's. Now, in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this Caesar feed, that he is grown so great, age thou art ashamed. So, Cassius curses the people of Rome, that age, the people, you should be ashamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods, when went there by an age since the great flood, but it was framed with more than one man. What could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her wide walks encompassed but one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and room enough that there is only one man? So he says that there was a great flood. A classical mythology tells how Zeus determined to destroy the whole world because they were so sinful. Only one man, Deucalion, Deucalion, and his wife, Pyrrha, Pyrrha, were saved. So he says that since the great flood, when only two people survived, has there ever been a time when Rome has been great enough for only one man? Why can't we all be great? Why isn't there room enough for all of us? Oh, you and I have heard our fathers say, there was a Brutus once that would have broke this eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. So Cassius reminds Brutus that there used to be a Brutus before him, his ancestor, there used to be this tyrant Tarquin, who was a very bad ruler for Rome. So Brutus's ancestor had driven Tarquin away from the streets of Rome. So he reminds Brutus of that. Brutus, that you do love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would have me do, I have some aim. How I have thought of this times, I shall recount thereafter. For this present I would not, so with love I might entreat you. Be not further moved, but you have said, I will consider what you have to say. I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. So Brutus says, I do not doubt your love for me, and I have some idea of what you would want me to do. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount thereafter. Meaning I will tell you that I have indeed thought of these things. So he says, I will consider what you have to say, and I will hear with patience what you have to say, but in a suitable time, not in an open street where people can hear us. So we can both meet later and we can answer such high things. And then, till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time. 'Tis lay upon us. So, Brutus says, till then, my noble friend, till then, Cassius, remember this. Brutus would rather be a common villager than to be known as a man who could not save Rome. It is to lay upon us. The future of Rome is to lay upon us. Cassius. I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus, a very manipulative man. He says, I am glad my weak words have struck some fire in the mind of Brutus. So, enter Caesar and his train. So the people have come back from the procession. Brutus. The games are done and Caesar is returning. Cassius. As they pass by, pluck Casca by his sleeve, and he will, after his fashion, tell you what had proceeded worthy note today. So, Cassius says that when they are passing by, you grab Casca by the sleeve, and he will, in a very sour fashion, although, tell you what had happened today, why the people were screaming. Brutus. I will do so, but look you, Cassius, the angry spot that glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol, being crossed in conference by some senators. So Brutus is a very observant man. He says, I will pluck Casca by the sleeve, I will ask him, but before that you notice the angry spot does glow on Caesar's brow. The Caesar looks very angry, and all the rest look as if they have been scolded. Calpurnia's cheek is pale. Calpurnia looks pale. Cicero has such a nervous energy and looks upon with such fiery eyes as we last saw him when another senator crossed his proposal in the conference room. Cassius. Casca will tell us what the matter is. Caesar. Antony. Caesar. So Caesar is calling Antonius, and Antony responds. Caesar. Let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. So Caesar says, and let me have men about me that are fat, men who are happy. Sleek-headed men like Cassius, they do not sleep at night when they see someone greater than them in position. Such men are dangerous. Antony. Fear him not, Caesar. He is not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given. So Antony denies Caesar's fear. Caesar says, would he were fatter, but I fear him not. So Caesar says, if only he were fatter, but I do not fear him, don't get me wrong. Yet, if my name were liable to fever, that if I would have been common enough to feel fear, I do not know the man I should avoid as soon as it spare Cassius. So Caesar says that if Caesar was someone who would be accustomed to fear, I would avoid Cassius. He reads much, he is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as you do, Antony. He hears no music, he smiles seldom, and in such a sort as if he is mocking himself and scorning his spirit that he would be able to smile at anything. Such men as he never be at heart's ease, whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore they are dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear, for I am always Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou dost think of him. So Caesar says he notes the characteristics of Cassius. He says you must remember these two friends. He reads much. He is a great observer. He is a great judge of character. He loves no plays. He smiles seldom, and he smiles in such a way as though he is mocking himself for smiling. And he is not gamesome. He does not like games, and he can never be at heart's ease while there are still people who are above him in position, and therefore he is dangerous. But I do not fear him, for I always am Caesar. So Caesar then tells Antony, come to my right hand, for my left ear is deaf. This is another physical infirmity of Caesar. And tell me truly what you think of him. So let's keep it till here today. Scene 2 is a rather huge scene. So till now we learned of 3 weaknesses of Caesar. So one time he had almost drowned and was saved by Cassius. Then the other time he had a fever and was rather weak. And Caesar also is deaf in his left ear. So These are some of the physical infirmities of Caesar, and this is what causes Cassius to think that how can such a weak man be such a god. So we end the video here today, and I hope you liked the video, and I'll be back soon with Act 1 Scene 1 Part 2. Till then, see you later guys.